So thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks. And today we're going to be discussing the real-time and Etilize functionality, also known as a product content subscription in QuoteWerks. These are add-on integrations, so you do need to have QuoteWerks licensing in order to view these. But today, it's going to be quick, kind of short PowerPoint presentation. So here's just an outline. First, we're going to cover the existing features and the new features for the real-time and Etilize. So we've actually expanded the Etilize integration a lot, but we're going to go over all the features that are available. We're actually going to do a demonstration of these features, and then we'll definitely take questions and kind of answer anything that might be outstanding at the end of the presentation. You'll see in the GoToMeeting dialog box, there is a questions section. So if you do have questions, feel free to post them there. I may not answer them right away, especially if we're moving on to something else. But if you do have a question, just post it there. Hang out till the end. I'll circle back and answer all your questions. If you're not able to stay to the end, that's fine. Just post your question there anyway, and we'll reach out afterwards and make sure we get everything answered for you today. So let's go ahead and dive in. Like I said, we're not going to spend too much time in PowerPoint. We're actually going to do a live demonstration, but just wanted to show you some of the kind of features. So the real-time and Etilize integrations are two separate integrations, but they work together seamlessly. The first one, the real-time integration, includes your typical integration with the distributor. So any of you that are using the IT distributors, this is what's going to be really important for you, because this is how you can actually get your real-time pricing and availability from the distributors. So the main four are going to be Ingram Micro, Tech Data, Synex, and D&H. We have full integration with those four distributors. That includes real-time pricing availability and placing electronic orders. These four are also in the product content / Etilize subscription as well. As you can see here with this screenshot, we have quite a few other distributors available in the real-time module as well. These distributors are not necessarily supported in the Etilize integration, so that's why I kind of have them in their own separate section. But you are able to get real-time pricing and availability from these distributors. So if you work with any of these distributors, maybe you have the main four hooked up, but you haven't realized that you have these other distributors available as well. We do have integrations with them. So these are kind of going to be the main ones. These are all listed on the website. So if you go to QuoteWerks.com and you go to our integrations, up at the top, you click on distributor, you'll actually be able to see a list of all the distributors we support and how we support them. So there's quite a few in there. But some of the major ones there, Accutech, Arbitech, ASI is pretty new. That's a pretty big one. Comstore, which is also known as the Westcon Group, is supported. That one's actually supported in Etilize as well. Jenny, ScanSource, Supplies Network, Supercom. So we have quite a few going for you. So definitely take a look at that page. That'll have a lot of the instructions for you. The main difference between those two is just that the top four here, Ingram Micro, Tech Data, Synex, and D&H, are part of Etilize, where the bottom ones, except for Comstar, are not going to be part of it. That's going to be the biggest difference in the online ordering. Additionally, with the real-time module, you not only get access to the distributor pricing availability, but you also get access to a few other features. For those of you that are using Dell, that's your Dell Premier partner, that gives you access to the punch-out and ordering functionality in QuoteWerks. So you'll actually be able to create Dell orders from within QuoteWerks. You'll also be able to import Tech Data quotes. So those of you that are using Tech Data, if Tech Data creates quotes on your behalf, we actually have an import functionality for them. Any of you that are using Great America for your leasing provider, we actually have a real-time integration with them as well. For those of you in the U.S., we have tax rates lookup support based on the postal code. So you can actually look up the tax rate based on the zip code of the client you're selling to. And then we're also able to create shipping estimates from UPS and FedEx in real time as well. So all these integrations are actually part of the real-time module. They're included in the real-time module at no additional fee. Just once you have the real-time module, you have access to all of these. So even if you're only using one or two of these distributors, you might also get a lot of use out of these other integrations that are available as well. For Etilize, Etilize is an annual subscription. So the real-time module is the one-time purchase, and then Etilize, or the product content subscription, as it's called, is going to provide quite a bit of information. This is where you're going to be able to get that product content from the distributors. So this is where you can search essentially by anything. keyword, part number, description, however you want to search for an item, locate that item, get pricing availability through the real-time module, and then pull that item to the document. It comes with customer-friendly descriptions, product images, marketing summaries. Also has a list of typically like optional items and accessories that are available, spec sheets if they're there, and similar and upsell items. So it provides a lot of functionality and works tightly with the real-time module so that you can go to this one place to search for your items and pull them into your document. Additionally, we've added some new functionality last year with Etilize where you're able to actually drill down for the items by like category, manufacturers, attributes, and features. You can actually view which distributors typically carry that item. You can even create or utilize a My Favorites folder. So if you want to save like items that you sell on a regular basis or that you search for, you can actually save them to My Favorites. We added bundle and configuration support for that, so that's really, really helpful. So you can actually build bundles and configurations from items that you pull from Etilize. And then we also have Pay Special support, which is a really nice feature. If you ever receive maybe negotiated quotes from your vendors, they send them to you in Excel, and you can use the Pay Special functionality to pull them into QuoteWerks, but we now have the ability to actually update them with information from Etilize. So it makes it really useful and really easy to pull those negotiated quotes into QuoteWerks and then update them with product images from Etilize, the marketing summaries, and so on. One of the other features that we added, which is extremely useful, is going to be the matrix style comparison. This is going to allow you, as you can see in the screenshot here, to actually compare multiple items across each other so you can see the differences between them, something that you can actually send to your customer if you'd like. We actually have a way to save it there, and I'm going to show you how to do that later in the webinar here. But this is extremely useful if you ever want to display to your customer a kind of Excel sheet or at least a file that they can see kind of the differences between the products and why you're quoting them and what's available out there. So really, really useful functionality that's included there. Some of the other new features we added in version 5.2, if you're not on the latest, being able to refresh the Etilize item details. That's a big one where maybe you received negotiated pricing from your vendor, but you still want to pull that Etilize content in. Now we can easily do that, and we can actually refresh it. So if you had quoted out the customer previously and you just need to refresh the item details, we can do that. Pay Special, which we talked about, bundles, configurations, required items, and also those My Favorites folder. So a lot of new features that are available in that subscription. So something that we definitely encourage. If you're going to use the real-time module, more than likely you should have the Etilize as well, unless you're not working with those distributors. If you're looking for like the tax rate lookup or something like that, then that's fine, just a real-time module. But if you integrate with any of the distributors, we highly recommend getting Etilize as well when you purchase the real-time module. If you are not sure if it's going to work for you, we're happy to set you up with trial as well for those. So as always, go to the website for additional information. We have a ton of resources available. We're always available for you, via email and phone. We have a lot of videos. There's a help file with all the features in there, and as well as we have all the live and recorded webinars posted there. There's also a users forum, which is extremely useful if you want to share information with other users. That's a great place to go. We do have partners all over the world, so if you're looking for someone a little more local to you, since we're based out here in Orlando, then feel free to let us know, and we can probably put you in touch with someone. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is kind of go through the traditional kind of real-time and Etilize functionality. I think that's the best place to start. So this will give you kind of an overview of how that functionality works, and then we'll touch on some of the other features as well. So when you are purchasing or searching for items from the distributors, Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Cinex, D&H, or ComStore, the easiest place you're going to go or to start your search is going to be under your products window here. And then if you click on the Etilize button or Etilize icon at the top left there, this is where you're going to do the searching for those particular items. You're going to see when you click on Etilize, you're going to have a search for field. This will let you search by pretty much anything. So this is, think of it like a Google search. You can search by product description, keyword, manufacturer, part number, vendor, part number. Really, however you want to look for an item, you can do so. So in our case, if we did a very generic search, we'll just do trip light switch, type that in. It's a pretty generic search. You can see down here at the bottom, it's going to let me know I have 493 items found. And it's going to show me a list of all those items. But now you can utilize these various filters, so categories, manufacturers, features, and attributes to kind of narrow down your search. So for instance, if you know you're looking for a switch box, we can click on switch boxes. That'll narrow it down to 127 items, as you can see in the bottom left. You can narrow it down even further by utilizing these feature and attributes. So saying, okay, if we go into, let's say if we go into product family and we expand the product family features, we can actually say, okay, if we pick a specific series, let's say Net Commander, that'll bring it down to 11 items. So just with a couple clicks, you can quickly narrow down your search results if you're not exactly sure what you're searching for. This is also where the My Favorites folder can be very useful, is if you have, again, specific items that you sell. Once you've kind of narrowed down the items or that you sell on a regular basis, if you select an item and right-click, you'll see there's an option that says Add Etilize Product to My Favorites. So it's very easy to save this as a kind of search for the future, so you don't have to worry about it looking for it next time you find it, especially if it's one you kind of struggled finding with. Really easy way to save that search. So once you've located your item, you can simply click on the real-time button here. So everything that we see so far, the item picture, the description, all these tabs, even the pricing from the other online merchants, this is all provided via the Etilize integration. But the real-time is actually going to include the pricing and availability. So this is where we're going to click on the real-time button, the little lightning bolt, and then that's where the real-time module kind of kicks in, and that's where it's going to return the results. So you can see which vendor has the best costs, which ones have the most in stock. So in this case, it's going to be the same one where D&H has this item at this particular cost to us, and that number in parentheses, that's actually going to be the availability by warehouse on the right-hand side. Now, sometimes you'll see some different variations. So in this case, you'll see Tech Data has vendor direct, how many they have, so basically drop shipping from them. And then also, you'll see this date here. This is going to be a promotion date, so it's letting you know that, hey, that price is going to be good until June 30th for this particular item. So it gives you a good idea of how long that that item will be kind of available and where you might want to price it at. Additionally, sometimes you'll see with Ingram Micro, they'll actually show you if an item has been back ordered. In this case, there aren't any, but if there are, it'll actually show you, it'll say like 6, and then there would be a slash, a forward slash that says like 4. That'll let you know they have 4 on back order. So if you see it says like 0 backslash, 10, means they have 10 on back order. So just kind of give you a quick indication that they are aware they're out of stock and they're working on getting more in stock for you. So in our case, we're going to go ahead and select this from D&H. To select it from the vendor, you simply need to double click on the vendor, or once you have the vendor selected, click on the Select Add button, and this will bring up the item. You can follow the normal process of changing quantity, adjusting your pricing, and then adding it to the document. Anytime you quote out this item, you can check price history. So you'll see right next to the price history icon, a little magnifying glass. If you click on that, that'll actually open up what you previously sold that item, make it very easy to stay consistent with your pricing. So let's go ahead and add that to the document. And then if we click on a little further down, you'll see there's an option that says Show Pricing from CDW, Newegg, Dell, ProVantage, and Staples. So this is a really nice feature because this is going to show you list or consumer pricing. So if your client was to go out to CDW right now and look for this particular item, we can actually see what pricing they would see. So we'll see which ones carry it, if any of them are carrying. So it looks like Staples and CDW are carrying the item. More likely to go to CDW than Staples at this point. So if they went to CDW, it would be for about $1,100, $1,173. So that gives us a pretty good indication of where we want to sell this item. So we don't want to oversell it probably too much from CDW. So just kind of gives you a good idea of where the price point for this item is going to be. It's also useful because sometimes you may actually find it cheaper from these online merchants. Maybe they're running a sale better than the vendors are offering you, or whatever it's going to be. So it also can give you some negotiating power if you want to go back to your vendors and maybe negotiate for a better price. If you have great shipping rates set up with them. So there's a lot of things you can do with it, but I always recommend making sure you just click on it just to kind of give you an idea of what's going to be a good price to quote this item at before we add it to the document. So where we had it's pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and move on here. Down at the bottom, you'll see there's a few tabs that are available. The second one is going to be the accessories tab. The accessories tab is going to provide typically a list of options for this particular item. So this one's items that are available for this particular product that we're selling or that we're quoting. If I click on the drop down for the categories, you'll see it's broken down into different categories. So I can select various categories to include. So if I said, okay, I want to include a couple cables. So there's a Cat 5 cable here. It's compatible. It's a trip light. So we can stay with our name brand. We can get our pricing, see which ones have it in stock. And if I extend this a little bit, you'll be able to see the availability by warehouse on the right-hand side. Okay, so that's good. So let's go ahead and source this from Ingram Micro, and you'll see it works the exact same way. Set our quantity, add it to the document. So you can go through these various categories. A lot of times the services are going to be the warranties, so you can select from the warranties as well. So if we want to include like the 1-year warranty, we can get our pricing availability from the 1-year warranty, and we could add that to the quote as well. So we quoted out 2 of them, so let's go ahead and quote 2 warranties as well. So all that information can easily be added to the document kind of as you're going through the tabs. The similar tab is going to provide you with information or in items that are similar in functionality and price and feature set to your original item. So we're selling this particular item here, in this case a switch. So it's going to show us similar switches that are typically in the same kind of feature set and typically in the same price. Might be a little more, might be a little less, but in the same ballpark. So if they have a particular, maybe manufacturer they prefer or just a particular brand that they're used to, you can show them what that would be as well. The upsell is going to be exactly what it sounds like. This is going to provide you with essentially a step up from what you're quoting. So it can be typically more feature-rich and typically more expensive. So if you're doing like a good, better, best, it's a great idea. You can utilize the upsell tab to quickly see that information. And then the last tab is the spec sheet tab. This is going to provide the technical information. So if your client would like this information, or if you just want to include it as part of the quote or proposal, we can actually attach it to our document that we're creating by clicking on the Add to Links tab. And that'll save it as a PDF here, and you'll see the confirmation window here. Let you know that you've created this PDF. Click OK, and then it'll add it to the Links tab in QuoteWerks. So if everything looked pretty smooth, that's the idea. It's supposed to be easy to use and kind of go through it pretty quickly so that you're not struggling searching for your items. The other feature I wanted to mention here before we kind of move on is if you are looking at these different items, so we have a 16-port here, so we have 4 16-port switches. We're not sure really what the differences are, even if there's a price difference. So we want to compare these items. So what we can do is by holding Control and clicking on each of these items, I can right-click after they're selected, and you'll see there's an option that says Compare Product Features, and in parentheses, clicks on Etilize. And when you do that, it'll open up this comparison window. It's going to be its own separate window, so if you want to minimize it and continue searching for items and add items to this, you can. You can store essentially as many items in here as your monitor will allow. Typically, it's between 15 and 20 is what we see for most monitors, but if you want to kind of squeeze as many in there as you can certainly try. But this will show you a list of those selected items and then compare them in this window so you can see the differences between them. By default, we'll highlight the various item differences. So in this case, the manufacturer part number, product model, name, and so forth. So you can see the differences between the items. You can also turn that off just by unchecking the highlight product differences. And then if you wanted to get pricing availability across all the items, you can see here, just check the box that says get pricing availability. And QuoteWerks will go out for all 16 part numbers in this case. So I have 4 vendors. Each one has 4, and I have 4 on there, so that's 16 total. And it'll get my pricing and availability and highlighting green from each vendor, the difference, the best cost for me. Now, a couple cool features here is that maybe I don't want to sell a particular item that doesn't have any availability. So this item all the way on the right doesn't have availability. So instead of me having to check, I can actually just choose this little icon right here that says remove 0 availability. When I do that, it'll actually remove that item from this window. So it's not available. I don't want to sell it. So I can go ahead and pull it out if I wanted to. So there's also a 0 cost if an item has been discontinued and it appears in your search here. It says, no longer available or it's a 0 cost. Whatever it is, you can actually remove it here as well so it doesn't show up in your window. Once you've made your selection, works the same way as if you're pulling it from Etilize, you can just choose select to select it from there. Or if you want to see a specific item's pricing availability panel like in Etilize, that's what the little link is for, and that'll open up that panel window. So if you want to grab the accessories or check out similar upsell items or even the spec sheet from here, you have all that functionality available. And then we can close that very easily as well just by clicking on hide. And then the last functionality or feature here is you can see there's an option to add this PDF to the links tab. When we add this PDF to the links tab, we will strip out your costs so you don't have to worry about the client seeing that automatically. We'll also pull out the part number information so that doesn't show up as well. That way your client doesn't have an easy way to just copy paste into Google and try to find a better price and price shop you that way. It can make it a little more difficult for them. So yeah, anytime you add this to the PDF to links tab, we're going to pull out the part number information as well as any cost or pricing information as well. Let's go ahead and add that to the links tab. And so you'll see that it's been there. And then I'm going to go ahead and close out of this window since we don't need that anymore. All right. The last feature in Etilize before we move on to the items on the workbook is going to be adding the items to the My Favorites. So I mentioned this when we searched for the item originally, but if you highlight an item and right-click to My Favorites, you can go to your My Favorites folder, which is available just by clicking on the expansion button on Etilize, and you'll see when you click on My Favorites a list of items that you've saved, and then you can quickly click on them and get your pricing availability from those particular items here. You'll also notice here in the My Favorites folders, you can actually hide or show that Etilize panel window. So if you ever want to just click on an item without getting that pricing availability shown automatically, you can do that. This button is also available in your other databases. So if you are using one of the other real-time vendors, such as ScanSource or Blue Star or ASI or whatever the vendor is going to be, and you have a database for those items instead, or even a vendor that we don't support in Etilize, any database that you click on in QuoteWerks, you'll see has access to this Etilize panel button so that you can actually cross-reference the item that you're searching for and see if one of the other vendors that's in Etilize supports it and get pricing availability from there. So nice little feature that you can utilize as well that's part of that integration. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our quote workbook. So we've added a few items on there. I just already had some default items on my document as well. So anytime you have items on the document and you need to make adjustments to them, we can actually refresh the details of these items a couple different ways. The first one is going to be just opening up the Etilize panel. A lot of times you may have added an item to the document, want to check pricing availability, maybe you forgot to add an accessory, whatever it is, you want access to that Etilize panel. So when you highlight an item, and let's start with our original item here, so that switch that we searched for, you can see there's an Etilize panel button right here. And when you click on it, it'll actually open up the Etilize panel window right here. And you'll see you'll have access to all the information previously, such as the accessories tab, similar items tab, upsell items, spec sheet, and even item detail. The item detail is something that you don't see in the Etilize product window, just provides kind of some different descriptions that might be available for it. So if you wanted to shorten the description, we can do that. So if we say we want to use that shorter description and click update, that'll be the description for this item now. And we can even double click in there in the description window to actually see what that description is going to be. So that's available to us as well. You can toggle the Etilize panel on and off just by clicking on it. And if you click on other items while the panel is running, it'll simply reload for that particular item. As long as that item exists in Etilize, you'll see it'll do a search for it. So it's going to do our search, see if it can locate that item. And if it can't, then it'll come back, or it'll just come back with the vendors that are supported, in this case, just these three. But again, provides the additional sourcing information that you might want. From here, we also have access to the Etilize item detail. So if we go back to our original item, our switch here, right next to the panel button is the item details from Etilize. And what this will do, this will actually just leave your pricing and your costs the same. It's not going to update that, but what it'll update instead is the Etilize item information. So if your description has changed and you want to reset it, if the product picture was removed, basically anything that's item related except for cost, price, anything like that, will actually update and set to the original. So we had changed our description to that shorter description, so you can see that there. So if I highlight this item and choose to refresh it, now I'm actually going to have that longer description that came with the item in my original search. This functionality is very, very useful if you receive items from your vendors in like Paste Special, or just you copied and pasted them from another quote, you put them in here, and you want to get those updated Etilize information. Instead of having to click on the Etilize panel for each one, you can actually do multiple items at once. You can actually highlight multiple items, click the item details button, and it'll actually do both at the same time, or however many you select. So like I said, it's really useful if you're pulling in multiple items from other sources, from other vendors, and you want to see if Etilize can update it with different content than what you have in there. It's a really easy way to do it. It's also great for existing documents. So if you send out a document, maybe 6 months ago, a client comes in and says, hey, can you update this and resend it to me? Instead of having to build your document from scratch, you can use that to kind of update the content. Maybe the pricing is going to stay the same, but the content has changed. You'll actually get that refreshed and updated content. So great functionality to use. Highly recommend when you're using the Etilize integration, take advantage of that functionality. A couple other options that are available here as well. It's going to be the best, latest, and compare. So these are really, really useful to refresh your items with, especially on existing documents. How we kind of talked about, if you have a document that's been a couple months old, you can use the best, latest, and compare to refresh it. Best will source it from the best cost vendor. So if you highlight an item, it'll let you actually search between your vendors and see which ones have the best cost. So you can see in this case D&H, and it'll update it as D&H and source the item from D&H if that was your best cost. So in this case, ours was updated with D&H being the best cost instead of, I think it was set to Ingram Micro. Latest will give you the latest pricing from that vendor. So it won't look at any of the other vendors. You can actually see it. But the one you'll use the most out of these three, if you're only using one vendor, then the best and latest will work fine for you. But when you're using multiple vendors, really the best one's going to be the compare window. This will actually let you compare across the multiple vendors for those items, so you can actually see which vendor has the best cost, which ones have the best cost with price or with stock, which one is your preferred vendor with stock. Like, you'll be able to see all this information in a grid kind of window here, and that makes it very easy, so you can actually choose where you want to source the items from. Again, I would recommend using the best, latest, and compare buttons strictly for, if you're using multiple vendors and for existing documents you've already created, sent out, maybe you just kind of need to refresh them. That's kind of when we would use this functionality. But you can actually see here, that's what these icons are for. So you can actually choose to source the items from the best cost vendor with stock, source it from the vendor with your preferred vendor, or you can have it, just source from the best cost. So you have a couple different options there for refreshing the documents, but definitely take advantage of those. It's an easy way, instead of having to start over from scratch and build that document from scratch, of pulling into the document. Okay, so that's going to be the typical kind of functionality you get from the real-time and Etilize integration. Additionally, there's a couple other options here. For those of you that are using tech data, you'll actually see there's a little tech data shortcut here, and you'll actually be able to import a tech data Excel quote. So if you have received a tech data quote from in Excel from tech data, you can actually just click on this, and this will prompt you to search for the quote that you want to pull in, and you can just add it into the document. Or if you click on Retrieve Tech Data SAP Quote, this will actually open up a list of quotes that have been created within the last 45 days from Tech Data. I don't have any to show you, but it's pretty straightforward, where it just opens up a window and you choose the quote you want to pull in into the document. The icon right next to it is going to be the Dell integration. So in order to use this integration, there needs to be kind of a two-step process. The first step is you need to be a Dell Premier partner, so you need to actually have a Dell account and have that set up. second step is that once you've set up that integration, you actually need to request from Dell the Punchout credentials. And we have a specific email that you can send those requests to. Those requests, they'll actually give you a new set of credentials specifically for QuoteWerks here. So I'll show you how the integration works. We're just going to start a new quote just so you can see how it's pulled in. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the Dell icon. It's going to just basically walk you through. So you'll see here it's 4 steps, and it's going to be 4 very easy steps. So it's basically going to prompt you to, okay, let's create our Dell quote. And very important to note, you have to start from here. So if you don't use this integration, you won't be able to, for instance, like place the order through to Dell from QuoteWerks. So it's very important that if you're going to use this integration, you do start from here. So in this case, click on Open Dell Premier website. Using your credentials, it's going to sign into Dell. And mine's just going to be demo credentials, so we'll just pick kind of a demo item. But if you had like an existing eQuote in Dell that you wanted to import, you could do that. You basically just have to create an order requisition. That's the step we're going to get to. So I'm not going to go through all the various options you'll see here. For those of you that are already Dell Premier partners, you're just in the Dell Premier site, and you're just walking through selecting your item. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this item to my cart just so we have something to pull in. So in this case, is Optiplex. And then this is where you'll need to create the order requisition. So if you have an eQuote, you just need to basically submit that eQuote as an order requisition in order to pull it into QuoteWerks. That's going to be the main step, really the only thing that's going to be kind of different. Once you do that, then you'll be able to import it into QuoteWerks. So if you click on Create Order Requisition, that'll open up the shipping window, and you do your normal, okay, you know, not going to export this outside the U.S. And then it'll bring you to the verify and submit order requisition, and then you just need to submit it. And then when you submit it, you'll actually get a confirmation window here in your browser from QuoteWerks saying, hey, this order requisition was created. Now, if you go into QuoteWerks, so those are the steps we just followed. So we selected and added the items to the shopping cart, and then created the order requisition. Now you just choose import items into quote. And when you do that, you'll see here's our items. There's our pricing. We marked it up already. Manufacturer, part number, vendors, Dell, all that information. So that'll actually let you pull those items into the document from Dell directly. And then when we do this, we can make any changes that we need to. Now, if you want to cross-reference it with Etilize, you can do that. So if you want to see if any of the other vendors are selling it and try to get product pictures, or if you want to assign pictures, whatever you want to do there, you can. And then when we deliver this document to the client, if the client decides to move forward, we'll then be able to actually place the order directly with Dell through QuoteWerks. That's only going to work, though, if you come through this utility. If you use the Paste Special to copy and paste, it's not going to work that way. You actually have to pull the items directly from Dell. It's how the integration works. So you need to make sure you follow those steps, but that's, again, going to be part of the real-time module as well. All right, so if we go back to our original quote here, let's just go back to our original document. For those of you that are using Great America or offering leasing options, or maybe interested in offering leasing options to your client, this is also going to be part of the real-time modules where you can actually create a leasing document. So if you're looking at this document saying, okay, it's $23,000 and we want the customer, we're going to give the customer the option to lease it instead of paying just kind of a flat fee up front. We can click on our Sale Info tab, and it's going to be very, very easy. This is going to be one of the easiest integrations we have. It's not really much to it. You choose Add Lease Payment Options. Your Great America credentials are already going to be in QuoteWerks. So in our case, ours is already set there. If we had any monthly recurring, we can actually include it as part of the lease amount. I don't, so I can just leave it blank. And then we can choose our options. So what are our term options going to be? In this case, 12, 24, 36. So we'll do a 1, 2, or 3-year lease. What the purchase options are going to be, and then if there's going to be any advanced payment options. And you just choose Get Lease Payments. QuoteWerks will actually go out in real time using the credentials that you have in QuoteWerks and get your lease rates and then calculate what the lease payment would be for those options. So you can see what the 12-month, 24, 36 options would be. And if you want to give your customer multiple options, you can select multiple options. You can say, okay, we're going to give you these 12, 24, and 36 months with the $1 lease purchase option. Add selected payment options to the quote, and now they're on the quote. We can even pre-select one for them just by double-clicking. So you can actually have multiple lease payment options in here. The great thing about the integration with Great America is that it is in real time, so you're not having to update your lease rates when they change. Same thing, when you use the distributors, prices change all the time. It doesn't change as often with Great America, but at least you don't have, it's one less thing you're going to have to remember to do and remember to update. Same thing with the distributors through the real-time module. All that pricing and availability is going to be up to the minute, up to date. And then if you want to remove them, if you decide you don't want to provide lease payment options, you can see here, very simple. You just can remove them instead. So very easy to add and remove lease payment options to the document kind of as you're going through. And then the last option here is going to be if you're pulling items from the Pay Special. So for those of you that are new to QuoteWerks or haven't seen this functionality before, there is a tool under the Edit menu called Pay Special. And the Pay Special is actually going to allow you, and let me just pull up a quote here so we have something to use. Let me see, find a better one here. So the Pay Special under your Edit menu is going to allow you to copy and paste data from like an Excel sheet into QuoteWerks. So if we go to our quote here and we have our information, basically all you need to do is highlight the information, copy it to your clipboard, and then we'll start a new session, copy the data from the file. I'll actually copy the data from the clipboard in our case. And then you just go through a mapping phase. So the biggest advantage of using the Pay Special functionality is that if you do receive quotes from your vendors, whether you're using the IT vendors, really any vendor, you can actually just copy and paste the data directly from those vendors into QuoteWerks. And from here, I can go through my mapping. So I'm just going to do this kind of quickly. We do have more instructions if you're interested in using this functionality in the help file. But here I can actually just go through and do my mapping. And then one of the really cool features about this that we just added is that when we are copying and pasting this data into QuoteWerks, we can actually have QuoteWerks through the Etilize integration update our unit cost, and this will be our unit list. We can have it update our descriptions, our pricing, really anything that's changed. So you'll see this checkbox here. We'll say, hey, pull this product details from Etilize if it's available and apply to the map field data. So it can actually update the description. If there's a better description, it'll include a product picture if that's available. If any of the pricing or availability needs to change, we can change that as well. So you can actually pull that data in as you're copying and pasting from Excel sheets. So it's very, very useful, and you can have these updated documents that you're pulling in to QuoteWerks so that when you do, you can see here it pulls in. So in this example, this first item, all these other items are kind of fake items, but this first item is a real item from Tech Data. And if you look here, the original description just said Cisco switch, very simple, but then it pulls in the actual technical description for that particular item. So then I could actually see if I wanted to get like the product picture information, anything like that. So you can actually get that information automatically when you use the Pay Special functionality and pull it in from Etilize. So it's a nice feature to have for any of you that receive quotes from your vendors in general. For more information on the help file, or for Pay Special, just check out the help file. There's instructions on how to use it. It's very straightforward, but it's a really, really cool feature to utilize. All right. So we've gone through a lot of features of adding items to the document, specifically to the vendors. But if you're not using the vendors, the real-time module also includes some other functionality. One of it's going to be the ability to look up tax rate based on the zip code. So if we go to our Sold to Ship to tab here, we'll see we have our contact information populated in the document. So if we actually wanted to check what the tax rate would be for this particular item, we click on the Sale Info tab, And this icon here next to the tax rate is only going to appear if you have the real-time module in QuoteWerks. If you're checking on yours right now and you're saying, I don't see that icon, it's only going to be available once you've added the real-time module to QuoteWerks. So if you click on this icon here, that'll look up the tax rate. I have mine set to the sold to, but you can change it. Typically, most people set it as the ship to. And you'll see here, in this case, you can choose if it's going to be Orlando, and then we can select, and then that'll be the new tax rate. So if we set it to, right here, we'll just click on this again. If you select a different city or set a different city, then it'll be updated there, and it'll show you that information. So really useful if you need to quickly set the sales tax, or if you just want to check the tax rate. It is only for U.S. customers, so any of if you're in Canada and you want to use this functionality, it's not available, unfortunately. But if you're in the U.S., part of the real-time module where you would actually be able to look up the tax rate in real time for this particular customer based on their zip code. All right, and then the last option before we get into a little bit of the purchasing information is going to be creating shipping estimates. So a lot of times you need to know, not exactly, but you at least like to say, hey, shipping is going to be, $25, $30, whatever it's going to be. So we at least want to have some type of estimate. So utilizing the real-time module, we can actually estimate shipping from UPS or FedEx using your credentials. So you do have to have an account with UPS or FedEx or both in order to utilize this functionality. But on your workbook, you would click on the little icon here. So add shipping rate line item. And this is going to choose where it's going to ship from. So our location is your location. It's where what's stored in QuoteWerks for your location. If you want to change it, you can. And then where you're going to ship to. So if we're going to ship it to, we'll ship it to downtown Orlando. So we'll change that zip code. And then you put in the weight. So, you can even estimate. That's fine if you're not sure. You say, okay, it's about 50 pounds for everything. If you know the dimensions, that's great. Your results will be a little bit better as far as your estimates. If you don't know, that's fine. Like I said, we can just using this as an estimate, kind of a ballpark. And then you can choose which shipping carrier you want to get pricing from. So UPS or FedEx or both. So in my case, both. Then I'll choose request rates. And then this will show you the different services and pricing. So you can actually decide which carrier you want to use. And so in this case, we just want to say, okay, we're just going to ship it UPS ground. We'll choose that one. And then we can add it to either put it in the price column, in the shipping amount column, or if we just want to add it as its own line item, we can do that as well. So you can see here, it'll tell us it's UPS ground. Here's how much it is. So you can access it also through the shipping icon down here at the bottom. So you'll see here, you can actually say retrieve estimate, and kind of the same process. Zip code, get your rates, select your option, and then it'll populate there instead. So you have a couple different options. If you want to change it, that's what this icon next to it's going to let you do. It's going to let you edit that shipping information. So if you want to reset it, you can, or do a manual entry, you can as well. So a lot of functionality in the shipping, but again, not going to be exact. It'll get pretty close. It should be pretty accurate. If you know exactly the weight and the dimensions and everything, then it'll be, very accurate using your credentials. But if you're putting in just kind of ballpark, then it'll give you a ballpark answer, but at least it'll give you, somewhere close to what it would cost, and at least even if you're not going to quote it on the document, at least for the document in the future. All right. So that's going to be most of the functionality through the real-time module for dealing with items kind of on just an item level here when we're making changes to documents. Additionally, included in the real-time module is the online ordering module. So this will actually let you place electronic orders with Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Cinex, D&H, both US and Canada, and then also Dell through the Punchout integration. So to get to the purchasing module, it's actually going to show up here at the top where it says purchasing. and that's fine. We're just going to save our documents, and then it's going to pop up the purchasing window here. So the purchasing window is typically going to have 3 tabs. If you have the real-time module, it's going to have the purchasing, which is where you would actually place your order. The purchase orders, which is going to show you a list of your POs that you've created in QuoteWerks, and then your ordered items, which would be an individual list of items that have already been ordered in QuoteWerks. So first on the purchasing tab, this is where you would go to place orders with the vendors. You'll see down at the bottom, this Place Online Order button is grayed out. So only if you select a vendor that's supported. So if we do CDW, they're not a supported vendor for online ordering, button remains grayed out. However, we select D&H, now my Place Online Order is available. There's a couple other features in here that are available and also useful is if you have an item that you want to maybe check before you actually order it, maybe you can get better pricing somewhere, you can actually click on the Etilize panel button here, and this will actually give you that pricing availability across the different vendors. So if you want to check if the pricing has changed, if the, it's gone up or down, if your availability has changed, you can actually test and see that information before you process the order. So if you want to source it from a different vendor, you can actually flip it to a different vendor from here. So it just makes it really easy to kind of check before we have that. So very useful functionality where you can actually kind of check your pricing and availability again before you actually send it out to the vendors. Once you place your order, I'm not actually going to place the order because this is live, but when you click on place order, it'll open up the online order form. Very straightforward, just have to fill out the information, shipping information, and then you verify the current pricing availability, validate the order, and then submit it. Now, once your order is submitted, it becomes a PO in QuoteWerks. You'll have the option to export it to another system as well, but when you export it over to or create the PO in QuoteWerks, you'll also have a let's just, here, that's fine. We'll just do a list here. We'll also have a list of all the POs that you've created. And then you can see which ones, let's see if I have any of the electronic ones, that you'll actually have access to the ordering information, so the order status. So has the item been updated? Has it been received? Have you received a serial number, tracking number? So any orders placed with like Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synex, D&H, you'll actually see that information. You'll actually see how many were ordered, how many were shipped, how many were received, how many are on back order, how were they shipped, which warehouse did they come from, when is the estimated ship date if they haven't shipped yet, what date were they shipped on, what's the tracking number, what's the serial number. So you can actually see all that information here. So it makes it really easy to come here and get updates on those items with those shipping statuses. When you right-click, you'll also see there's an option to copy special, which will just basically copy over like the serial numbers. So if your client is asking for serial numbers and you want to email them from here, you can do that. If you want to email the tracking numbers to your clients, they're asking for the tracking information, you can get them here as well. Even for items that you're not placing the order directly through the distributors, as you get that information, if you want to manually update those particular items, you can do that. Now these are just demo POs, so they're not live. But if they were, I can actually click on the Get Real-Time buttons here, and this will let me get the real-time status for this selected order, or you can do it for all orders. So if you just want to kind of go through all of your orders and see the statuses for those various items, you can easily do that. And then once they're all received, then you can actually close the PO. So it's a lot of functionality in the ordering window here, but it makes it very easy to kind of stay on top of the various items and that you're selling and receive those order statuses here in QuoteWerks. All right, so ran a little bit longer than wanted to, but definitely thank everyone for coming today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. For those of you who do have questions, feel free to stay on the line, and we'll go ahead and go through those questions. For everyone else, thank you for your time today. We will be sending out an email blast with this information. But as always, if you do have any questions, definitely let us know.